Good day to everyone. In this video, we shall see about the API testing. Now, what is an API? API, it is a middle layer. It is like a mediator between one layer to another layer or one application to another application. It will help to transfer the data or exchange the data between one application to another application. API, it is abbreviation of Application Programming Interface. API, it is a piece of a software that will enable the communication between the two software or the application. Through this API, we can do the data exchange between the two applications. Suppose you go to any website to purchase any item, first you need to register or sign up. Here we will enter all the details that is required for the registration. The data which is entered for the registration, it is carrying from the front end to the back end. In the back end, there is a code developed by the developer which has been written for the registration. When we enter the details, the data it will be recorded and then it will be passed to the data layer and then it will be stored in a form of the customer table. Once it is successfully stored, we will get a message in the front end as registration successful. Now, who is doing all these activities? These activities, that is the transfer of the information, it is done by the API. Here the API, it will exchange the data. Here we need to check whether the data exchange is happening correctly or not and whether the API it is secured or not, because the chances are there that the hacker they may steal the informations. So we need to have the secured API in data exchange. We should also check the reliability and performance. Like check how long does it take to load the data. And during the festival offers, you will see that many people they would be trying to order something. There will be too much of traffic. In order to handle those requests and responses, these APIs it will be used. Now, what is this API testing? The API it is the middle layer which is present between the presentation layer, UI and the data layer. It will enable the customer data exchange between one system to another system. Here we gonna validate the APIs from the functionality point of view, performance point of view and security point of view. This API testing, it is part of the integration testing. That is, we will check whether the data flow from one application to another application is happening correctly or not. Now, why we need to do this API testing? This API testing, it is an important type of testing that is performed by the test engineers, wherein we will be representing the end user. So we need to make sure that the end user he will be getting the good quality of a product. API testing, it is not like the UI testing. It is completely different. As a test engineer, we will not be focusing on the look and feel of an application. We will mainly focus on business logic layer of the application. Whenever the developer he develops an application in the backend, he will also develop the APIs. Before he develops the UI, he will first develop the APIs and he will give that to the test engineers to testing. As a test engineer, we will be testing the API that is given by the developers. It will be in the form of XML or JSON file. We will be checking whether the data it is storing or not, whether it is allowing to transfer the data from one application to another application or not. Like this, we will be performing the testing. So almost 70 to 80% of the testing, it is done in the API level itself. And remaining 20 to 30%, it will be done in the UI level. Now, where do we perform this API testing? This API testing, it will be performed in the most critical layer, that is in the business logic layer, wherein all the business logic processing, it will be carried out between the user interface and the database layer. Now let us see the benefits of API testing. While doing the API testing, the data exchange, it will happen via JSON or the XML file. If you are developing any application with any of the programming language, it will support the XML or JSON formats. So we can say that it is a language independent. Now I will show you how the XML and JSON file looks like. You can see here, this is the XML file. Now this is the JSON file which you are looking. When we enter the details in the UI layer, that is in the front end, in this format, the data it will be carried out from presentation layer to the business logic layer, and from the business logic layer to the data layer. Next is, it is a GUI independent or UI independent. Before the developer he develops the UI or the front end of an application, he will give us to do the API testing. As a test engineer, we will be performing this API testing. It is the back-end testing before the presentation layer has been developed. There will be no presentation layer while doing this API testing. Next is improved test coverage. Since we are doing the testing in the business logic layer, 90% of the scenarios they will be tested here only, and the test coverage also will be good. We will be doing both the functional testing and non-functional testing, like performance testing, security testing. Like this, we will be performing the testings. Next benefit is faster release. This API testing, it will save the time compared to the UI testing, and it will be helpful to release the software quickly to the market. Thank you for watching our video. Please do not forget to hit the subscribe button so that you do not miss any of our updates or videos. Thank you.